Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to a new, vid. Today we're going to be talking about, the long-range pattern, also a significant northeast snowstorm that's going to be likely, and then we'll also talk about the long-range pattern severe weather-wise. So, over the next few days, we're going to have, today, here's what the weather prediction map shows. We have heavy snow. Let me just get the color right. Oh, yeah, that looks good. We have heavy snow in portions of Denver, areas like, oh, okay, no, I do not want that to happen. I got this new tool here, but we get snow in areas like Denver here and here. We also get some storms across Florida tonight, which are possible. And then we also will probably see some light snow in portions of the Northeast further north as well. Now, day 2, we could see an isolated severe thunderstorm in Florida. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to have a couple areas of snow and rain and mixed precipitation. And then day 3, we start to see this is your potential nor'easter that we have to watch. It'll start in the Florida area, bringing them a lot of rain. It'll track up the coast. Track could be something like, the track is probably going to be like going up the coast. We'll see how close it gets, because if it gets close to the coast, it'll bring more heavier impacts. Here are the current fronts, though. We have that system currently in the Gulf of Mexico there, bringing up some strong moisture into Florida. And here's the front map over the next couple frames. Here's 0Z tonight. This is 60. This is when maybe some isolated severe thunderstorms are possible. This is when we'll probably see a few in South Florida there. And then 18Z, we might see some as well. They're going to be very isolated, and whatever storms that do form in Florida and get organized tonight into tomorrow afternoon could be strong to severe. Then Thursday, then Friday, and then that system starts moving, and then once we get into Friday night into Saturday, that's when your major snowstorm in the Northeast is possible. Sunday, maybe portions of Maine will be getting some snow. Then Monday and then Tuesday, and then we get another blockbuster system potentially next week. We'll have to watch that closely. But we could see a severe weather maker next week across portions of the plains and into the Dixie Alley regions. SPC-wise, they mentioned potential for an isolated severe thunderstorm today or tomorrow, but they're not going to put probs out due to the fact that they have instability concerns. Day 4 through 8, severe weather is possible. After day 5, mainly in that day 6, 7, 8 period, and now after that, and we'll talk about that right now. I did not mean to have that up right now, but here is what we're currently going to be having. We'll also bring up the GEFS here, and then we're going to get some of like the cam models up for tomorrow's weather event in Florida that could be bringing severe storms there. So let's look at that. Here's going to be the 18Z HRRR, and we'll just put it on a loop. So currently we have some pretty strong thunderstorms out in portions of the Gulf Coast regions right now. Let's go back to 12Z. This is when a couple stronger storms are possible in here. If we take a sounding in front of those, it's not very supportive because you don't have the warm sector that far north right at that point. But right around here, maybe we see a strong storm if the updrafts can get going enough and the forcing is enough. This would be a pretty solid damaging wind gust sounding due to the fact that you have that V shape at the surface with the sounding there. Then around like 22Z, it looks like we have more intense convection that forms. And let's analyze this sounding here. So we have a pretty curved photograph there. It's not the curvest thing ever, but it'll definitely get the job done, maybe for a brief tornado. Given the fact that the surface winds are pretty terrible and very unidirectional, I don't think that's going to get the job done. But I don't know, maybe it will, for maybe like a brief spin-up tornado. Looking at the other sounding, we start to see a dry slot around a little bit over 500 millibar. And that's going to be where some hail is possible if the updrafts can get up here, and this is the maximum potential for the updraft. Overall, wind shear is solid, but not the greatest ever, especially pretty bad in the low levels, but that'll work. And as we go on here, these storms move offshore. Now here's kind of the instability that we're going to be working with. Tomorrow we'll put around 20Z. We see values of 500 to 1500 surface based. Mixed layer, it's not going to be very high, only 500 and maybe an isolated 1000. 6 kilometer wind shear, you're going to have plenty of it, 30 to 50 knots. Your lower level wind shear though is not going to be very high. 10 to 20 knots is all you're going to be working with. Lower level instability is going to be a little bit over 100 joules per kilogram as well. Now here are some of the other models. They show decent line of convection there, taking a sounding in front. Again, a small risk for severe weather with that line. And the NSSL is a more organized solution where it wants a little bit more of an organized damaging wind gust risk rather than there being more isolated storms. The ARW kind of agrees with the HRRR to where most of the storms stay offshore, except maybe a few that pop up on the coast and become strong and then go offshore. So we'll have to see. Now let's get into the GFS model here. We'll do a forecast loop with the GFS. And then as we're doing that, we can get the Euro up and then we can get the Canadian up too. These all should have, okay, these all are going to have forecast loops. So here's the GFS forecast loop. I didn't mean to do that, but here's the GFS forecast loop here. There's that nor'easter ongoing right here, that nor'easter forming. As we move along here, you can see the nor'easter really start to get going and bring some extremely heavy snow to Cape Cod. And if the GFS solution were to be right, the most significant conditions would be along coastal New England and not as much across the coast of like New Jersey and stuff. Then we see that second system in the Rockies and Pacific Cascades start to get going out here. This is going to be the system we're going to want to watch for severe weather. And as we see here, we start to get a little bit of convection going there. We see the first system, maybe an isolated strong storm with it. Here's where the low pressure starts to get deeper and deeper. And here is where the system starts to get going. So this is around 15Z. We have a surface low near Dallas, and then it goes back out into Mexico, and it starts to form in Arkansas. Now, I'm not going to look at soundings this far out because it's a little bit premature to look at soundings around 200 hours out, but we will look at a few things. So here's your dew points based off the GFS. We'll go to 18Z. Pretty solid warm sector if you're looking at the GFS. We have 60 dew points in Alabama, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, Southeast Missouri, and Southwest Kentucky there. So that's a pretty large warm sector. North to south, east to west, it's pretty large too. Now as we look at some of the other things like the theta E, we have pretty good theta E across portions of the area too. If we look at our winds at 500 millibar, we have a really nice trough kind of extending here with probably an embedded shortwave. In the low levels, we have a very strong amount of lower level wind shear with 40 to 60 plus knots across the warm sector there. Here's our height anomalies. As you see here, very strong trough digging in there, and a very strong high pressure right here, which is bringing up all that rich Gulf moisture into portions of the Mississippi River Valley regions. As we get to the height anomalies at 850 millibars, it's going to be a lot warmer than normal across portions of Illinois, the Northeast, and even into the southern United States. It's going to be a bit warmer than normal. And if we go to like the regular surface temps, pretty sure there's a temperature anomaly somewhere in here. Yeah, here it is. So based off this, it's going to be a lot colder than normal in portions of Wyoming. We'll just take a sounding for the heck of it to see the temp. -8. And then in like Indiana and Ohio, it's going to be 24 to 20 degrees above normal if the solution were to be correct, and that's 55 degrees. So it's going to be a lot warmer. Even in Dixie Alley, it's going to be a lot warmer. Like, it's going to be 20 plus degrees warmer than normal with a 75 surface temp. That's the only reason why I'm taking soundings. I mean, I could look at the temperatures too at the surface. You can just see the Gulf of Mexico has just opened up its gates and it's bringing in all this warm, moist air all the way into like almost the southern Great Lakes region. And even into the Northeast, it's a lot warmer than normal. The temp's a little bit over freezing if the GFS were to be correct. Now, if the GFS solution were to be correct, it would bring in a strong EML from portions of Mexico into the Dixie Alley and Mississippi River Valley regions, and that would bring a threat of severe weather with it. Most models are signaling the potential for severe weather with this system, so it's going to be something to watch. Here's your surface winds, and as you can see there, they're pumping that Gulf moisture. Now here's the Euro solution. And along with this storm, we're probably going to get a significant ice storm and winter storm on the back end. So here's the Euro. That's the nor'easter. The Euro wants to bring it a lot closer to the coast and bring blizzard conditions closer to the coast as well. It stalls alone, brings like 30 inches of snow to Nantucket. And then as that's ongoing, we see that other system organizing out back in the Pacific Northwest. The strong surface low, and bang, there's your system right there. Probably going to bring some severe potential with the first low pressure on Wednesday if the year were to be correct. And then the second one would have significant severe weather potential as well, with ice storm potential maybe if that would be correct too. Now let's stop it here at 198, and let's look at your dew points. And we have a very strong surge of dew points. Let's go 0Z. Still very strong. 6Z, 12Z, 18Z. Like, this is a significant amount of dew points that's just being pushed up there. This would bring probably a two-day hiatus of severe weather across the plains if this were to be correct, and into Dixie Alley, like I said earlier. A strongly negative tilted trough with a very nice low pressure in there as well. Upper low pressure, and probably with a surface low developing on the fringes of the trough. You have very strong upper level flow or low level flow as well into the region. And here's your height anomalies. You can see here a strong high pressure again in the northeast with a strong trough in the west, and this is going to support the rich Gulf moisture being pumped into the portions of the Dixie Alley region and into the plains, like I said earlier. Again, 850 temperature anomalies. It is going to be extremely warmer than average. Here's your surface anomalies at the surface, and if we take a sounding up in Wisconsin, 23 degrees above normal is 42, so it's going to be very warm. In Louisiana, 22 degrees above normal. That is 70s, so we could see potentially 70s in Oklahoma, maybe like 60s as well, which is a lot higher than normal. And you could see all these red colors in here. This is temperatures above average. The grays are neutral, and then the pinks, the blues, the purples, all those cold colors, those are the temperatures that are below normal. So you can see Canada is 30 plus degrees below normal. Looking back at that surface low right there, we see two of them. Both of these are probably going to cause trouble with it. Winter storm on the backside with Potential for snow, freezing rain, sleet, all of that. And then severe weather on the warm side. Again, let's see if we have a nice EML building in it. Again, a strong EML from Mexico is building into Dixie Alley with this setup as well, which is interesting. So far the GFS and Euro agree with each other. Now let's look at the Canadian. So here's the Canadian. It shows again that nor'easter, but a lot further away from the coast until it gets closer to 952 millibar low. Here are those other systems though. The Canadian wants to start develop one here. Pretty weird with the systems, I'll say that. Here's 18Z though. Pretty large warm sector. Currently the timing is a little bit off with the models and stuff, but that's okay, we'll get that situated. Here's the trough it shows. The Canadian is definitely one of the less significant solutions for the severe weather event in the winter storm, but it's definitely still got it. Not as strong a level of flow as well. Now part of the reason probably is because of the I did not mean to put that, but probably part of the reason is probably because of this trough being a little bit weaker. It's not able to pump as much moisture up. I mean, the high pressure is still like really strong as well out here. It's just the surface trough is not as strong, so that's something we're gonna need to monitor. Temperature anomaly is still like off the charts. It's still gonna be really warm for some areas. If we go like back a little bit, it'll be really warm in like further areas further east as well. So that'll bring a warm up for like portions of the eastern US, and I'll bring a cool down for the western United States. Now let's look at the GEFS solution. Let's look at the 500 millibar flow. We'll actually go to College of DuPage in a second here, but I just want to show that the 500 millibar flow, we have a very solid trough with the members here. These pinks are winds above 60 knots, and that's already your agreement 200 hours out, which is pretty significant. And then temperature anomalies, it's going to be a lot warmer than normal there. Here's your trough agreement this far out. It's not like confined or anything, but we have your strong trough dipping, and then we have our high pressure here. So we're starting to get some really good agreement with this as well. Let's look at again like your surface temp anomalies, and yeah, they're very hot. Temperatures across the United States are, especially around the Gulf, are in the 60s. Now let's look at College of DuPage here. We're gonna look at the GFS ensembles on here. There's a lot more products and stuff to look at. So here's your mean slip precipitation. So let's just go along with it. There's the nor'easter, so it has a lot of snow falling across portions of the coast there, if that were to be correct. Then here's our second system. It starts to really like get going in the Midwest and places like that. Now convective wise, here's your probability for 1,000+ joules per kilogram of CAPE, and it's actually relatively high for being this far out. It's around that's probably like a 40% chance or so, 30%. Here's your ensemble CAPE, and ensemble members are bringing a solid amount of instability further north. Not all of them do, but some of them are doing it. The mean supercell composite, I usually don't look at this parameter, but you can see the area that is most consistent with the ensembles is Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Texas, that area. Looking at the mean temperature at 850, we can see it gets warm here. 500 millibar spaghetti plot, you can see the trough dips pretty far down. And then the ensemble winds, a lot of them show pretty strong troughs coming across the United States. This model is like one of the outliers right here. That one doesn't show anything. I would say this model's a little bit too quick. But pretty interesting how the ensembles even agree. Now let's look at the winter side of things. Let's look at the mean snow accumulation. So we're getting confidence that the East Coast with the system, I'll just bring it back a little bit. We're getting confidence that portions of areas anywhere from North Carolina into Maine will see at least 4, 5, 6 inches of snow. Maybe South Carolina getting into it as well. And then a foot being possible in Maine and like coastal portions of the New England area. Now here's the ensemble accumulations. We'll just go zoom into the Northeast there. Some of the models have them getting like slammed, others don't. It just depends. Here's the Midwest. So some of the models have a really strong winter storm and others don't. Now that is going to be all for this one.